Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, especially if this is your first time clicking on any of my videos. My name is Bong Young, and today I will be talking about relationships with in-laws and specifically mothers-in-law. And the reason I've decided to talk about this is because I was having a conversation only 2-3 days ago with an aunt who was raising this issue with me. And I remember very recently in a forum, in a ladies forum that I belong to, that issue was raised as well, and we were deliberating, and I was listening to discussions and views about in-laws. And I have to say, for me, I have been particularly lucky. I had an amazing mother-in-law. And I also remember talking to my mother years and years ago and asking her about my grandmother. And she too was very lucky to have had an amazing mother-in-law. So I know that not everybody has great mother-in-law stories or great in-law relationships in general, be it with brothers-in-law, sisters-in-law. But the key one that I want to bring up today is mothers-in-law, because they always seem to be in a wife's life, and things always seem to be difficult. So as I'm going about my weekend activities today, I'm going to be asking people that I meet what their relationships are like with their mothers-in-law. I must say it's particularly cold today. The weather is really freezing, although the sun is up. It's 7 degrees outside. And so, yeah, I will bring you along this journey with me. And if I meet any people, I will connect you. And so I just drove into a parking lot near a charity shop that I volunteer at once every 2 weeks. And my first stop is going to be this charity shop. Hopefully, maybe the colleagues in there, other volunteers, or customers that come in may be able to answer the question. So the question I'm going to be asking is, one, what is the relationship, what is your relationship like with your mother-in-law? And if it is a woman, my second question will be, based on this relationship, if you've got any sons or daughters, what kind of mother-in-law would you like to be? Or what kind of mother-in-law are you? Especially if you have sons, because the issues is always mothers of sons, how they treat their daughters-in-law. So this is, I know it's a tricky topic today as well. Let's see how this goes. Let's get talking. So here we are at Cats Protection. Let me see, that's Cats Protection. So that's the charity shop I was talking about earlier. Cats Protection. So,
where is everybody?
just you, hi. So, I'm going to have you right there, since you have no one at the till right now.
Far away. What do you want
What
to
was
know?
your relationship like with your mother-in-law?
I don't have a mother-in-law, sadly, but I do have a wonderful daughter-in-law.
Okay.
She lost her mum when she got engaged, so I'm her second mum.
Yes.
And I love my son dearly, so it's important to love the daughter-in-law as well. But she is lovely. We
Because
work hard at the relationship, but it's worth it.
I was actually going
Never
to follow
take
up
sides.
by asking you what kind of mother-in-law you are then. And you've just...
Oh, I wouldn't like to say. You'd have to ask my daughter-in-law, wouldn't you?
Yeah. What do you think?
I like to think that I'm a good mother-in-law. I don't take sides with my son or my daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
And she does buy me the most lovely cards which say you are like a mum to me. So hopefully I'm doing something right.
Isn't that lovely?
But I'm very lucky to have them living locally.
Yes.
So I do get to see them every week and it's lovely.
Cool.
Really nice. But you have to work at it.
And thank you for volunteering at Cats Protection.
Always.
Yeah.
Please come. Beautiful
And
staff.
donate. Yeah.
Very friendly staff.
Yeah.
You'd be most welcome.
Thank
Enjoy.
you. Thank you, Jill.
Okay,
Let me
bye.
go downstairs and talk to the ladies there, find out what they think about their in-laws and mothers-in-law. Right, ladies. Down in the basement, this is where all the good work happens, where all the donations come, and where all our lovely ladies put in the hard work. Hi, Julie.
Hello there.
So, just a quick question, really. I'm asking people today to tell me what they think of their mothers-in-law. What kind of relationship do you have with your mother-in-law?
I don't have one now, but when I had one, well, I've had two. I had a very good relationship with both of them.
Oh,
The
wow.
first one, she was lovely. I was young, 18, and
Oh, you married at 18?
and she taught me how to wallpaper, how to upholstery, how to do all sorts of sewing, making curtains,
Yeah.
laying floors,
Uh-huh.
and we helped her get her nursing home up and running. And she taught me how to cook, so sometimes I cooked for 25 people.
Ooh.
And we did the gardening, and I grew the vegetables.
Mhm.
And she taught me loads of things. We used to go on
So
holiday.
that was a
She
good
really-
relationship.
Very good relationship. We both had our dogs, and we used to walk the dog in the afternoon while my husband did plumbing and God knows what else. He was only young as well.
Yeah.
So I learned everything from her.
Wow.
So that was really good grounding.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the second one, she was lovely. She was a Scottish lady, and she was very kind and helpful. But she was a little bit. She had slightly bad knees. She'd been hit by a car when one of the pedestrian
Ooh.
crossings, so she got a bit
Oh
of bad
dear.
knee.
Mm.
So, but she was always really lovely to me, and
What
even
kind of mother-in-law do you think you are?
I haven't got any children, so I don't know.
Oh, you didn't have any
Not
children?
anybody.
Okay.
No, I don't.
What was your relationship with what is your relationship with your mother-in-law like?
They're both dead
They
long
both
years
passed
ago
away.
now.
Okay.
But they were wonderful to me, absolutely wonderful.
Mhm.
They came from South Africa. I was
Oh.
living here, I was just going to be here for a year, then I met my husband, so obviously was going to stay here.
Mm.
And because I was getting married in England, my father-in-law arranged all the wedding for me, everything. He made a list of all my friends, he sent out the invitations,
Yeah.
he did everything to do with the wedding.
Yeah.
And provided everything for him. So he couldn't have been a better father-in-law, really.
Oh, wow.
And my mother-in-law was the same. They were wonderful because they didn't know anything about me because I come from South Africa, but they accepted me. And
So you
they
came
were
from South
very,
Africa?
yes, very, very understanding and accepting and everything like that. We had a few problems when we were married, but they never interfered.
Oh, yeah,
They were
of course,
very,
like every
very-
marriage.
Yes, they just stood back and they never said a word. But
Good.
they were very, very good.
I never took sides as well.
Yes, and that's her. I couldn't have had better mother-in-law, in-laws.
Yes. What about your relationship now with your in-laws? Like, what kind of mother-in-law are you now?
Well, I hope I'm a good one.
Okay.
I think so. You know, we have touch wood, have a good relationship with my daughter, and we see a lot of them,
Yes.
and they're very, very.
Found your bag.
Obviously, I hope that we are good in-laws.
Yeah.
We very friendly and
Okay.
we touch with circle never fallen out and so on. So
Yeah.
all in all, I've been,
Or what kind of daughter-in-law were you?
well, that's a good question, really. A good question.
I was very good because I.
Ring. Where is Monique?
She's
Is she upstairs or at the back?
no, she's up.
Okay, let me go and have a quick final word with her, then disappear. Have a lovely weekend, and I will see you in 2 weeks when I come again. Enjoy the Christmas dinner. Yeah, I will. So I'm back in the office now. This is our little cat protection office, and this is lovely Monique.
Hello.
So I'm going to ask Monique the same question I've been asking. Let me stand this way, Monique. Right, this is day 2 of the interesting conversation we started yesterday on mothers-in-law. By the way, if you're just tuning in, my name is Bong Young, and we're having like a church Christmas fair. Let me just do a quick swing around. Yeah, so you don't have to see people's faces. I've not asked for permission. Now, I've got 2 interesting ladies here that I found at the fair, and we're just going to check what their relationship was like with their mothers-in-law. Who would like to go first? Let's start with you, Barbara.
My husband's mother was my mother-in-law. She's now dead, obviously. But I would say that we got on very well, but we didn't have a close relationship.
Yeah.
You know, she used to come over for lunch. We used to go and pick them up and bring them back. But she was always quite aloof.
Right.
Never got close to the children, although we used to speak to them.
Yeah.
And she loved them as babies, holding them. But as they got older, she didn't really talk to them or play with them very much. But she was a very nice person. But she wasn't like my mother, you know, who they'd all run to and give a hug. And when they got older, they could talk to her and tell her things. She always kept herself much to herself. Now I've got two daughters.
Because I was going to ask if you've got any daughters-in-law.
And I have
All
a
right.
daughter-in-law.
Yes.
But my daughter-in-law now is Japanese.
Okay.
And she is lovely. But because I only see her once a year, and she comes and stays, she is absolutely wonderful. She helps, she wants to know, she loves England, she wants to know all about it, she wants to know about us. But how it would be if she was living with it,
or living in the UK.
In the UK, it might
Yeah.
not be the same. But she's absolutely lovely.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. What advice would you give any young person or young woman who is having a difficult relationship with her mother-in-law?
I would say you always, you respect them, you give them your time of day, you're polite, but you can't push it. If you push things, then they sort of go back a bit.
Yeah.
My sister has 3 boys, and so she is a mother-in-law, and all her daughter-in-laws give precedence to their mothers. So she always, they involve her, but they're not over-friendly, you know, they keep back.
I know what you mean, yeah.
And so, you know, she gets on well with her grandchildren.
John, I've mentioned John in a previous video, and if you remember, there was a reflection that I did in the past where I was saying John came out of church and had offered to help someone. If you remember, if you haven't, then if you don't, then go back and click. I can't remember the title of that video. You see? Thank you so much. So it's like 4 weeks ago when I posted about John offering to help, and now I think that reflection was about not only going to church and serving God, but about living a Christian life outside of church. So this is John. So John, we're going to have this conversation now. What was your relationship like with your mother-in-law?
I absolutely loved her. She was the mother I didn't have.
Oh,
I had a mother, but my mother-in-law was wonderful. Oh, she was such a home lady. She was great with all the children. Absolutely heaven sent. Her daughter, she even really liked me, and she had 2 daughters, and she said I was better than them. She got better than me.
She got-
after that.
wow. Okay. And I would assume you've got daughters-in-law?
Yeah, one
One
lovely.
daughter.
Oh my God, wonderful daughter-in-law.
So what kind of mother-in-law do you think you are?
She will tell you, fantastic.
Okay.
Because she's got 3 boys, and I was always there for her. Always do anything, last minute.
Yeah.
And she's just so grateful I live around the corner, and she's
Brilliant.
very fond of me.
Oh, that is really nice. So thank you so much for sharing. Would you have any piece of advice for a young woman, or not necessarily young, any woman who is her, because it's usually mothers-in-laws and daughters-in-laws, isn't
Well,
it?
I mean,
What advice would you give her?
never force yourself on them. Just be there for them. Let them know you love them. And if there's really problems, just be there.
Yeah.
Always love them. Help out where you can. Never interfere.
Yeah.
Never.
I appreciate that so much. hopefully we will get some tips before I conclude this video today. So thank you so much for sharing. So everyone, I have just come back home and I didn't get to talk to a few more people. I had an Indian lady who actually was very negative about, she's in her 30s and she wasn't very positive about the relationship she had with her mother-in-law, and she is separated with 2 kids and she blames her separation on her mother-in-law. She told me and was ready to do a video but got busy because she had a stall at the Christmas fair at church, so she wasn't able to do the video and elaborate. I actually want to conclude on this. And what I want to say is, the reason I just thought I should do a quick thing, this is not like a proper video that I would have loved to do on mothers-in-law. And why specifically mothers-in-law? Because I've heard so much over the years about the kind of tricky relationship that exists between mothers and daughters-in-law, to be specific. So usually a son's wife and the relationship she has with her husband's mother. And as I said right from the very beginning, in day one of doing this, that personally I was very lucky to have had an amazing mother-in-law. Of course, yes, I live in the UK, she's in Africa, but we had a good relationship. My mother, as I had mentioned, talked so highly about my paternal grandmother, may she rest in peace. And she said my grandmother just adored her and looked after her. And that is sort of what we all wish for, but it doesn't always happen. And because of this issue of mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationships, it's over the years, talking to many couples, talking to many women, and even belonging to some groups where ladies groups, where you hear women rant about the way their mothers-in-law treat them and the way they come into their homes and take control, try to cook, forgetting that you're now the wife of the house and you're the one who is in charge. They can't just get into your kitchen and just do things. My response to that is, if you have a good relationship with your mother-in-law, that should not be a problem. So it only becomes a problem when the relationship is not good and when communication is not good. And at this point, there is so much that we can do to fix the situation. Maybe not our current situation with our mothers-in-law, but my question is, what can we do to change this problem? We cannot continue to blame mothers-in-law. I'm thinking, if you're in your 30s or in your 40s now, you probably have kids of your own. And if you have sons, these sons will have wives in future. So you're a future mother-in-law. And my question is, if you're having a difficult relationship with your mother-in-law right now, what are you doing in your life to ensure that you have a better relationship with your future daughter-in-law? So it all starts with, if we want to change anything, it has to start with us and now. So going forward, for example, if you love your son so much, start to think about it now. If you love your son so much, are you beginning to think that the woman he might marry will not be good enough for her? Or are you thinking, whichever woman he chooses, I would want to treat her like a daughter. I would want to love her. Because it can only change if we decide to become good mothers-in-law in the future. That is the main thing. It's kind of like a change of position where mothers-in-law feel like the attention they used to get from their son is now being diverted to their wives. Fair enough. Fair enough. So you need to start thinking, are you ready to accept that when your son will be married, you will no longer be first priority and naturally so. So it's good to accept that. And the ladies that I spoke to, that I interviewed earlier on, there was a good advice that they gave for young women or any women who are struggling with their mothers-in-law, that one thing you have to do as well is just be nice and patient with them. So it's a two-way street. And for me, while we want the daughters-in-law, which is us now, to be good, tolerant, and understanding of our mothers-in-law, we have to start building ourselves as well to recognize that our sons now will have wives in future, and those wives will take priority over us. We need to pray for the grace to be able to accept this thought, think about it, acknowledge the fact that our relationships might change and priorities will change in our children's lives as well. And just pray for the grace to be able to cope with this difficulty. In fact, if you've got any questions about this, please leave a comment down below. If there are certain topics that are kind of difficult and tricky to be discussed, I would say let's not shy away from them. Let's talk about them and find solutions for them. Some of them might have it might be really difficult to find solutions to some of these problems, but if we get talking and discussing, we might get somewhere. So I will leave you with my final thoughts, which is always, no matter what, just be happy, keep loving, keep smiling, and do unto others as you would like others to do unto you. So peace and love, and see you soon. Hello and welcome once more to my YouTube channel. This is actually the third video I'm doing on relationships with in-laws, and my day one was on Saturday, day two on Sunday. But when I was about to post the video, I noticed that one person, Monique, if you've watched the start of the video, because I'll try to collate them or do them in parts, you'll notice that I introduced Monique, but then once I switched sides so that she would be on my right, then the video went off. So I've rearranged with Monique to do the video with her. And before I go to meet Monique today, I'm at work, so I've got my colleague with me, and I just kind of asked her if she would like to answer the same questions. So Jane, would you like to come over? So this is Jane, and I'm going to ask Jane a few questions. I mean, the same questions I've been asking. And the first one really, Jane, is what is your relationship with your mother-in-law like, or how was it if you had one?
My relationship with my mother-in-law is quite good, actually. It's very supportive. Mm-hmm. She's very kind and loving towards me and my son. So yeah, despite being separated from my husband, I still have a strong relationship with my mother-in-law.
Okay, and because it's a good relationship, the next question, I'm not sure how you answer that, but how do you think, you've got a son?
Yes.
Which means you're priority in his life mm-hmm. now, but when he gets older and finds himself a wife,
yeah,
she will have to be priority. How do you think your relationship with your son or your daughter-in-law will be?
Well, yes, that's a difficult question, isn't it? And I suspect that I might be a trifle interfering. I will want to especially be in charge of the children and make sure that they're bringing them up properly. And yeah, I probably will want to be quite involved in their life.
Okay, do you think that might cause some issues if she thinks you're being overly involved?
Yeah, I'm sure it could do. It depends how I manage it. It obviously depends on personalities as well. Depends
Yes.
on the relationship that she has with her own mother.
Yeah.
And how supportive I can be.
Mm-hmm,
because I think there is a role to be supportive and yet perhaps have an influence on the young couple
Yeah.
and their children. So, but yeah, she's got to balance it.
Okay.
But
So
I would certainly have tendencies, I have to say, to say, oh, please don't do that. Or,
Yeah. So my last question then will be, what advice would you give any woman who is having a really difficult relationship with their mother-in-law?
I think I would say just remember that you both love the same person.
Good one.
So try and remember that whilst she might appear very dominant or irritating to you, she actually does obviously love your husband just as much obviously as you do. And try to find some common ground. And perhaps try to compliment her even. If you love your husband, well then hopefully she's done a fairly good job.
Would you be able to kind of shift, let's say, let me shift the question a bit from mothers-in-law and look at in-laws in general.
Yeah.
Like, do you have sisters-in-law?
Yes.
What is your
And
relationship?
brothers-in-law.
Okay, what is your relationship like with you? I guess maybe this video wasn't taping fully in the beginning because it wanted to allow me to
Yeah.
slip in this question of sisters-in-law because I've dwelt so much on mothers-in-law.
Well, I have 2 brothers-in-law and 1 sister-in-law, and I get on well with all of them. My brothers-in-law particularly because they're married to my sisters who are much older than me. So in some ways, they're like older brothers to me. And,
Yeah.
and now that we've lost both our parents, my 2 brothers-in-law help me with things. Things with the house, things with the garden. They're really supportive, and I often ring them up and say, can you help me with this? And they do things, and yeah.
Oh, and the sister-in-law? Really
Yeah, she's also helpful. We don't have so much contact because they live further afield.
good? Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Jane. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Let's get to work now.
Bye-bye.
Lunchtime nearly over. Bye. Right, so I've closed work and I have come to cat protection just to catch up again with Monique, whose video did not record the last time. So we'll do this again, Monique. I apologize.
No, that's fine.
Where do we stand? We stand this way. We're in the basement, by the way. Look, this is cat protection charity shop basement, or where all the hard work happens. So, Mon,
Yes, my love.
what were our questions last week? We're talking about in-laws, but we're specifically talking about mothers-in-law, wasn't it?
Indeed.
So, the question now is, what is your relationship with your mother-in-law like, or what was your relationship with your mother-in-law like?
Right. Well, it was fabulous. We used to stay up late, talk to early morning. She encouraged me to cook curries, and I used to eat hot. We used to tell each other all sorts of stuff, and she would never make judgment between me and my husband. And if we was in the wrong, she'd say, and so we just had a lovely, lovely relationship. Yeah,
And what kind of daughter-in-law do you think you were?
go with the flow.
Okay,
Yeah.
and you think she would agree, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, I reckon you've got sons.
Yeah.
So, what kind of mother-in-law do you think you would be, or what kind of mother-in-law do you think you are?
Well, I know I can do better. Indeed, but I do find boys tend to go on the other side. So once they got their woman, they're sort
Yeah.
of like in their little bubble.
Yes.
Yeah. So mummy's not needed as much.
Are you able to give him and his wife the space they need, or
Oh,
do you?
definitely.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Yes.
So I think your video did not record for a reason. I dwelt so much on mothers-in-law because I know how difficult those relationships are, and it comes up a lot in conversations.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
then I didn't talk a lot about sisters-in-law. So, do you have sisters-in-laws?
Yes.
And
Yes.
what
Just
is your
the new
relationship
one
like?
just recently.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
So your
yes.
brother is newly married?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's
yeah.
your relationship like with your sister-in-law?
We get on well. She used to work here on a till. Yeah. She's been in the family quite a few years now. She's lovely. She's very easygoing, very quiet, and we sort of like try and bring her out of her shell. And we've got the same interests, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do get on well. Yeah.
Okay, so to
Yeah.
end today, I'm just going to ask, what kind of advice would you give any woman who is actually struggling or having a difficult relationship with their mother-in-law?
Persevere, it will get better. Just let them know that they're there and you're there, and you will talk. You will talk.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
It will
give-
get better.
Good. Thank you so much for your time, Monique. I can't believe how many days later, like this was Saturday.
Yes.
I was meant to post this video on Sunday, and then I never really look back at my videos.
Really?
But this time I was like, let me just have a look, because it kept cutting and I kept doing new videos. So this is like the third or the fourth one. I don't even know how to edit, so I need to find a way to put all 4 into one video.
Yes.
I have no idea how that's going to happen.
Don't ask me.
All right, then I'll see you in a week's time, because I'm not in tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yes, and have a lovely week.
And you. Sweet
Yeah,
you.
and so I'll catch up with you guys soon. Let's say goodbye to Monique.
bless.
Take care. Thank you so much,
You're
Monique.
welcome.
Right, so I just got back to my car after talking to Monique, and I want to finally conclude on this video. I think I've done a couple of conclusions already. So in conclusion, I'm going to go back to the reason why I actually wanted to do the video. Talking to an aunt who was having relationship issues with her sisters in-laws, which then provoked a thought I had after a conversation with a group of women who were having difficulties with their mothers-in-law. And I just thought I should question a couple of people. Looking at the people that I spoke to these past couple of days, we can see most of the relationships are actually positive, be it the way the ladies felt about their mothers-in-law, be it the way they feel about their daughters-in-law. And it would have been interesting, an interesting conversation to have and to see what other women, maybe younger women of African descent, what they would have said about their own relationships. What I do want to say though is that we need to be thinking about how we carry ourselves and our own relationships with the various in-laws that we have in our lives. If you currently have an issue with the way your mother-in-law relates with you, then one thing I'll be asking is, if you have a son, think about the attachment you have to your son, and you're the priority in his life, and you probably would be till his adult life before he gets married. I was questioning another colleague who actually didn't want to do the video. She spoke to me, but she was a bit camera shy and didn't want to do the video. But she told me straight away she has a difficult relationship with, not that difficult, but she had mixed feelings about the relationship she had with her mother-in-law. And she's got a son, and she has a very close relationship with her son. And when I questioned her and asked how she would feel or what kind of relationship she thought she would have with her daughter-in-law, she said she doesn't think it would be that easy. Of course, because she's got a very close relationship with her son, and she doesn't think any woman will be good enough for her son. So we are the game changers right now. If you have a difficult relationship with your mother-in-law, start thinking now about how close you are to your son. The way you feel about how you get treated either by a sister-in-law or by a mother-in-law. Think about the future. What kind of mother-in-law will you be? What kind of sister-in-law are you right now? Are you the kind of sister-in-law who is poking her nose into her brother's affairs and not leaving her brother and his wife alone? You need to start thinking about that. Give them space. You can be supportive, you can be friendly. Yes, it's your brother, but you can't be overly involved. It applies with mothers-in-law as well. But then, even as a daughter-in-law, you have to still respect that relationship that exists between your husband and his sisters, and you have to respect the relationship that exists between your husband and his mother. So these are delicate and tricky relationships, and what I would say is mutual respect. Once in-laws have mutual respect for one another and respect each other's relationship with the one person they love in common, then maybe things will get better. But I would always say, think about yourself first. Always put yourself in the other person's shoe. How would you want to be treated? So again, it boils down to doing unto others as you would want others to do unto you. And I know it is a tricky conversation to have, but we should start self-reflecting and improving on those relationships. You have to be fair, you have to be considerate, you have to be understanding, and just do the best you can. What I would like to see happen, ideally, is that we avoid criticism, because that's the first thing. It's always about, this person is not good enough for my brother, this person is not good enough for my son. Who do you think will be good enough? Because nobody is perfect. So let's just check our relationships and challenge our own behaviors towards the people we call in-laws. So may the good Lord bless us and help us and guide us and give us the grace, because really that's what we need to be able to manage these relationships better. Nobody is perfect. A day at a time, every day. And I'll leave you and hope you remain happy, keep loving, keep smiling. Just be you and spread love around the world. Thank you and see you soon.